You're deep, just like a chasm. You've no enthusiasm. You're tired and uninspired. You're blasé. Your day is one of leisure in which you search for pleasure. You're bored when you're adored. You're blasé. While reaching for the moon, the stars up in the sky, the simple things of daily life slowly pass you by. You sleep, the sun is shining. You wake, it's time for dining. There's nothing new for you to do. You're blasé. Stars up in the sky, the simple things of daily life slowly pass you by. You sleep, the sun is shining. You wake, it's time for dining. There's nothing new for you to do. You're blasé.
You were just listening to You're Blasé by Wiz Jones. Wiz is one of a kind. He's been influenced by the legends of acoustic blues and folk, such as Ewan MacColl, Big Bill Broonzy, Muddy Waters, Rambling Jack Elliott, to name just a few. He's also played and busked in and around the acoustic blues and folk scene with the likes of Ralph McTell, John Renbourn, Davy Graham, and others. He is, in fact, a true troubadour of his art. We're meeting him now. So without further ado, Mr. Wiz Jones.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I was going to decide to have a drink.
Why not? I wish I'd done the same as you. I've gone for tea, unfortunately, but
well, that's the intelligent option.
Not at this time of night. It's not when you got some good bottles of red downstairs. I think you've made the right choice.
I just had the one little vintage. Then.
Right. So I've just played Your Blasé, which you recorded with Pete and
yes.
and Simeon. So is there a story there with that?
Well, it's a song I've always wanted to record, because when I was a little boy during the war, my mother used to play Leslie Hutchinson was a
this is the Gulf War, by the way, everybody.
The Second World War. He was a real rascal, a character. If you Google him, you'll find out what a kind of a rascal he was. But he was a great entertainer, and he hung out with royalty and everything. And one of the songs he did was Your Blasé, which came from an on-Broadway musical, and it had a verse and everything. But I always wanted to do the chorus bit. And then years later, I got hold of a recording of it again, and I got hold of the sheet music and worked out what the chords were. And I've had this sort of the end of my career now. The last album I figured I'd make, I always wanted to make one more with Pete Berryman, because Pete Berryman is such a great, sympathetic, accompanying guitar player. We've recorded over the years together so much. I wanted to make one more album with him. So that's what we did. And I wanted to do that one. And I was so happy with the recording with Simeon Saxo and everything.
Yeah,
I thought, well, great.
Tremendous.
I mean, it's a bit obscure, you see, but that was the direction I was sort of going in. But unfortunately, I haven't gone any further than that, because my career is more or less finished. I haven't played for 2 years. I've been hiding for the last 2.5 years.
They'll find you, Wiz. They'll find you. Are you playing in Weybridge then? Is there a Weybridge folk festival?
No, I'm not doing that. No, there isn't one this year anyway. I think there might be one in the street. No, I cancelled that. Well, I didn't have it this year anyway, but I cancelled the Penzance one in August,
right,
a couple of weeks ago. I've got one gig that I'm supposed to be doing up near Nottingham Festival, but I'm not sure whether I'm even going to do that yet, but I probably will. But I'm a bit scared. But you can't hide forever. You've just got to get out there and do it, you know. So that's what I'll do.
I suppose it's the same with we're the same way of thinking. You know, yes, you have to get out there, but it's just you're not silly about things. You don't go into packed places and try to stay outside as much as you do open air gigs. That's
this gig I've got, I think, is an open air one. I think probably be pissing with rain, wouldn't it? But anyway, so I was very happy with that album because it gave me a chance to explore all these things I had on the back burner, you know. And
what was the name of the album? That was the album called, Your Blasé as well?
No, it's called Come What May, which is one of Pete Berryman's songs. Yeah, Come What May. It's on a label called World Music, and the branch was Riverboat Records. But they gave me complete freedom and everything just to go in and do it. I mean,
oh, good. When was it released? Was that
it was released 2017, maybe.
Okay.
Or even early 18.
Come What May. Right.
Yeah, it's on Spotify. Isn't everything?
Isn't everything these days?
Yeah. So, how are we doing?
That was news to me, the Come What May. I didn't know that album existed, to my shame. So
you and a few million trillion other people.
Well, all the few million and trillion that will be listening to us, they'll be able to hook into that now. Then, yeah. So the other track that I'll play a bit later on is Trouble in Mind. Is that a Big Bill Broomsey track, or is it inspired by?
Well, it's a standard old blues, jazz blues that everybody played. And when I was trying to learn to play the blues guitar, I'd seen all these people like Big Bill Broomsey and Muddy Waters and everybody, and I was trying to duplicate his kind of right-hand style. And I'd also followed David Graham around, who was a bit older, a bit younger than me, but he was in my generation.
He was a sort of peer of yours in the
he was, in the day. And he was a real trendsetter, a real original guitar player, in a way like Bert Jansch was later. But he developed a finger style and a chording way of playing that hadn't really been done much. It'd been done a bit by jazz guitarists, but not really on the acoustic folk scene. And I followed Davey around a lot, and I tried to copy his licks and stuff. So the reason I like to play that is because it's full of me trying to do all this stuff. Like you hear all these little phrases and licks that have all come from Big Bill Broomsey or from David Graham. And I'm playing this really old beaten up guitar that was absolute rubbish before my old friend Ralph McTell persuaded me to buy the Epiphone that I played for the next 50 odd years. But I had this old English guitar, and you can hear it's a shitty old guitar. But when I listen to it, I think, well, for 1967, I mean, I've been playing a long time by then. I started playing in 1957, 10 years before that, on the old sort of skiffle scene and that and busking scene. So by then I should have been quite good. But for its time, it was good for its time. But looking back on it, it really shows you the kind of developing style. of me. You can hear I'm trying to find my way around the fingerboard. And my singing is really influenced by David Graham's phrasing and everything. And it's in front of a live audience in this little folk club that I used to play all the summer. We have a whole summer season down there at Mitchell. Ruth used to go there.
Oh, was it in Cornwall that was recorded?
In Mitchell, yeah, the Folk Cottage. It was, and that was 1967. It's a very cheap recording done on a cassette machine by somebody in the audience. And when I put this mixture record out called A Life on the Road, which is a track of loads of different tracks all put together from different albums. In fact, the other tracks, that's what that's from. I put it on there along with the other song that we're going to play later. And just to illustrate, shall we say how far I've come or how far I haven't come.
Thank you, folks. I will now play a blues. You've already had some very fine blues guitar playing from Ralph, and he'll be back later on in the evening with the rest of his group, which is very interesting. What shall I play? What's I going to play now? Oh yes, this is a Trouble in Mind. Yeah, that's a point. Never did it, did I? Okay, I'll do it now. This is a very well-known blues, a classic, I would say. And I'm blue, but I won't be blue always. Well, the sun's gonna shine on my back door someday. I'm all alone at midnight, and the lights are burning low. Got so much trouble, I just don't know where to go. I'm gonna lay my old head on some lonesome railroad line. Let that midnight freight train ease my worried mind. Well, trouble and love comes to me, and it sure does grieve my mind. Sometimes I feel like living, sometimes I feel like dying. Trouble in mind, and I'm blue, but I won't be blue always. Well, the sun's gonna shine in my back door someday.
the development of Wizz. So
Yeah.
there's not very many people that can sit there and say, I've seen Big Bill Broomsey, I've seen
Yeah.
Muddy Waters, and so you saw them in the early day when they were touring.
When they came to London, I mean, I was influenced most of all by Ramblin' Jack Elliott.
Oh yeah,
who was just Jack Elliott then.
Yes, yeah.
And he was just 2 or 3 years older than me. He was early 20s, and I was 18 or 19 or 17, whatever. And he really impressed me because he was doing that flat picking with the plectrum that nobody had really heard anybody doing it like that. I mean, everyone can do that now, but playing the bass line and strumming on the treble strings, it was a wonderful tinkling sound. I thought, I've got to do that. And like when I did a bit of teaching for a while on the side, and people used to come to me and say, I want to learn to play Angie. And I'd say, well, I'll have to show you the A minor chord and the F chord. I said, no, I don't want to hear any chords. Just show me how to play Angie. I said, well, no, I've got to show you some chords. And I was the same because I just wanted to play the way Jack Elliott played San Francisco Bay Blues, which was a Jesse Fuller tune. But the way he played it was so exciting. And I thought, well, how is he playing that? And I could see he was playing it in C and F and G. But I couldn't work out how he was doing it. So I had to really practice those chords before I could do it. And then once I could do it, because I wanted to play San Francisco Blues like Jack Elliott. But once you're there, it's like when you've learned to play Angie, you're hooked and you just carry on, And I'd heard Big Bill Broomsey on the radio and over the years, when I was a kid and all that on the third program on the BBC. So I'd heard all that stuff. I'd heard all the Ewan McCall traditional stuff, all the radio ballads. I'd heard all that. So it was all one great bit hodgepodge of acoustic folk and blues stuff that just got me, completely took me over.
I listened to Joint Control. I listened to it quite a bit actually. The album you made with John Renbourn. Have another sip. Have another sip, Wiz. You look like you're enjoying that.
Yeah, I'd known John since he was a student. He used to come to my gigs and sit in the audience. I didn't know who he was. Then I saw him play one day. And over the years, we've known each other. We've gigged together once in a while, here and there. And then towards the end of his life, we were doing tours together. And unfortunately, of course, that's when he died.
Yeah, sad.
In the middle of one of our tours, yeah.
Oh, sad. Really? Slap bang in the middle?
Yeah, right in the middle of the last tour, yes. And so he died, I got to the gig and he wasn't there. We were arranged to meet the next day. In fact, the day before, we just finished that album you were talking about.
No.
And he would, that night before, at 10 o'clock at night, he was doing the final mix over the internet with the sound guy. He was putting the finishing touches on Hey Hey, that instrumental.
Yeah.
And he phoned me up and said, I've done it now, everything's done. I'll see you tomorrow. So I got there and he wasn't there. And I found out the next day that we knew each other over the years, but we never got to know each other really well until that last tour, when we got to know each other really well. And we had a great time together. Yeah, that was the last. And I've done a bit of work since with Ralph McTell in the same way, doing a few duo gigs together, That's about...
I saw you and Ralph years ago at the Half Moon in Putney.
Yeah. Well, that was my old stamping ground.
Yeah. Are you tuned up, Wiz?
I did get the guitar out, but I'm very much out of practice. So I'll do this one because I was talking about working in Germany. And in 1981, I went over there to play a festival, and it was the Friends of the Earth festival. And in those days, there was still very much controversy about nuclear power and whether we should use nuclear power stations. And in Germany, all the demonstrations there, Atomkraft 9 Danke, yeah, Atomkraft. So the whole thing was, this whole festival was based on that. So I wrote this song as a kind of climate thing, sort of about, are we going to use nuclear power? What are we going to do? The world is running down, everything. And this was 1981. The thing is, it's still valid now, even more than it ever was. But the reason I started to play it again is because I've worked out over the years various different open tunings, which most guitar players do. And this is the same tuning I use for Night Theory.
What tuning is this?
Well, it's E as normal, A as normal, D as normal, and G down to E, which would normally be G, is down to E, same as, so you get a double E.
Right, right.
And then the second, which is normally B, goes down to A, same as the fifth. So that gives you that chord, which isn't anything special. But the way I've written songs over open tunings is just to play with the chord shapes I can think of, and then usually a melody drops out. And that's what happened with this. My wife Sandy saw a headline in the newspaper, some article back in 1970 something, and it said "Planet Without a Plan," and it was an article all about how we should really be worried, you know, about climate change. So I wrote the song "Planet Out with a Plan." It goes a bit like this.
Living on a planet without a plan. Heaven knows the future of the child of man. Who can take the blame? It goes from hand to hand. Living on this planet without a plan. Consumers killing us day by day. Ecologists telling us there's just no way. See the trees dying, there's nowhere to breathe. We gotta keep trying, cause we just can't leave this planet without a plan. See the dirty money go from hand to hand. Oh, we can take the blame, oh yes, I know we can. Living on this planet without a plan. Astronauts, they wander up in outer space. Why we have to plunder such a beautiful place. Power from plutonium, I guess it'll do. But how can we be sure that it won't burn right through this planet without a plan?
Wiz, thank you very much. Thank you. I'm honoured.
You're
So
welcome.
I'll let you have a sip. I'll let you have a sip.
Yeah.
I couldn't sign this off without asking you to talk about that sleepy little fishing village on the North Cornish coast.
Yeah, look at it now. My God. Yeah, when I first went there in 1959, I was just going down there because a friend of mine had been there the year before, guitar player, who was dodging the national service thing. And he changed his name to Woody Floyd. And he squatted in a cottage in Heligan Woods. And the BBC went down there and filmed him for this program called Monitor, which later became Omnibus and then became Arena and Panorama or whatever. And they filmed him. And I remember the film, the camera came down through the woods and he was sitting outside the cottage with his rabbit skin coat on that he'd made, his rifle across his knees, his guitar next to him. And I thought, wow, I want to do that. And of course, the BBC wiped that programme like they wiped so much. The year when I was there in '60, when they filmed me down there, at the end of that session, I played a Big Bill Broonzy tune at the end. But because they ran out of time, they didn't transmit that. So they only kept what they transmitted.
Right.
And in fact,
that was played on Town Beach, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. No, it's down on the Gannel.
Oh, was it on the Gannel? Okay.
Yeah, by the Gannel. Yeah, because that's where we were all camping. Because it was National Trust land, so you could camp there.
Right.
You know,
it's all been built on now.
Yeah, I know. Nobody could get you there. So we used to busk and everything there. That was before the folk club scene sort of happened. I was playing in the pubs down there. Yeah, and it was such a quiet place then. I mean, it was always a holiday town, yes, but it was a bit different to what it is now.
Yeah, I mean, it's different when I was growing up, but yeah, interesting to get your view on it back in the day. Oh, fantastic. Well, that's been absolutely fabulous. I've got another question for you. I've got another question. This chap, Mr. Springsteen, did he ever thank you for When I Leave Berlin?
No, of course not. And I mean, he never recorded it, so obviously.
No, that's true. It's probably on a bootleg somewhere, but
there's no money from it.
You might not want to say this, but I think he's a bit of a blighter for not acknowledging
that.
Well,
I don't think it was his choice. I think it would have been the management. They probably said, well, we've got to have a song for Berlin. And when I told Simeon, my son who plays sax, he was really laughing because what must have happened, he said, they must have got your little recording of you and your wife playing banjo, another guy playing banjo, and you playing guitar on this little old homespun record, playing When I Leave Berlin, all folky way. And they must have played it to the band. And they will have to write an arrangement. So someone must have written an arrangement for the horns,
yes,
to play. And you can imagine all these guys in the studio. Now we've got to routine this song, guys, for tomorrow's gig. This is the song. Here's the music. They're going, what's this? What's this shit? Who's this guy? Wiz Jones? I can just imagine. And Simeon was hysterical when he thought about it. And I don't think Bruce had much to do with it at all, to be honest. He just
that's very gracious of you. Was it so? If Sandy was playing, was it in the Lazy Farmer days then?
Yeah, she was, for a while. Right. Lazy Farmer didn't last long. We made one album in Germany and one tour, but the logistics of keeping a band together, especially when you got 3 kids and everything, it didn't work. But we made a nice album, and we had some great experiences. Yeah.
Good. So talking of your 3 kids, sort of obliquely here, really, we've got Lullaby Battersea as your 3rd track. Was that written for one or all of your children?
Well, that was only written because I had that tuning, a bit like the one I just used for Planet, similar, except the 6th string was down to D, and the 2nd string was back to B, but otherwise it was the same tuning as that, with the 3rd down to E. And I discovered that by playing in D, I could get some really nice voicings, as they say.
Right.
And someone said to me, have you ever written a lullaby? And I said, no, I haven't really. So I just sat down and sort of came up with that. And it's quite nice because I did it on an album many years ago now that was theoretically an American album. It did come out in America on a small label. Then it was released here for a while. And I used a guitar player I knew at the time to play second guitar on that track, an Austrian guy called Bernd Rest, who came over here from Austria to study at Leeds School of Music, I think. So he was really a classical guitar player, as well as being a very good, guitar player. So I got him in to play on that session, and he did a lovely job on that. Yeah, and I thought, what shall I call it? Oh, well, I was around Battersea at the time, so call it Lullaby Battersea.
Excellent.
It's a nice tune.
Yes, very nice. So what's next then? You're going to brave the outdoors and.
Well, I'm retired. I mean, I might try and do this.
You were till about half an hour ago. Then you played the Planet.
after this Nottingham gig, next month I've got a gig in London, a little local gig that I do once in a blue moon. So I'll do that. That's probably it, really. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I'm not short of ideas or things to do, but, you know, my health is failing. You know, my voice is, in the last 2 years, I haven't sung, and my voice has lost its power, you know, and I've got a lot of arthritis, you know. So we'll see what happens in the next few months. I mean, I have a feeling that I'm going to have to just wind down, really, and fade away.
I hope you have a productive wind down, Wiz.
Well, I shall certainly have a few drinks. I know that.
Yes, and get that wind down. Hey, thank you ever so much for coming on New Sound Pod. It's been
thanks, Mark. I enjoyed it.
I'm sure we could have gone on a lot longer, but I really appreciate that. And you drinking that red wine, it's making me thirsty. So, hey, look,
right.
Wiz, thank you ever so much, and bid you good night, sir. And hopefully see you down in Cornwall sometime.
Yeah, I hope to get down there. Yeah, sometime next year, maybe.
Good. That'd be fantastic.
Cheers, Mark.
Live the dream. See you later. Cheers, Wiz. Take care.
Cheers.
When the sun goes to sleep and the moon wakes up and the stars begin to shine, when you drunk all the chocolate from your good night cup, you know that it's sleeping time. Daddy will read you a story or two, turn off the TV screen. When the sun goes to sleep and the moon wakes up, it's time for you to dream. The sun goes to sleep and the moon wakes up and the stars begin to shine. When you drunk all the chocolate from your good night cup, you know that it's sleeping time. Mommy will read you a story or two, turn off the TV screen. When the sun goes to sleep and the moon wakes up, it's time for you to dream.